times x minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Rocket Hour. Listen, I'm live from outside my house. I guess I got kicked out of my house today, right? No. The wife had a long meeting that went over, so I said, hell, I'll just go outside. No big deal. So here we are. I'm live from the back porch. Ricky, you're in your normal spot. We've got a great Saratoga card today. We're going to cover the late pick four, races 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is this the toughest sequence maybe that we've ever covered on this show?
It's tough to, we've done, this is our 88th episode. It would be tough to rank and go back, but I would certainly say that this has got the biggest opportunity to pay for sure. This is going to be crazy to talk about. This sequence is going to be much better than tomorrow's sequence, in my opinion. Again, we're not even going to talk about stakes races tomorrow as I was instructed. But yeah, this is going to be a crazy sequence. Hopefully we can do a little bit better because we're now 2 straight days of just missing all 4 pick fours and all 4 pick fives by a race. So, I mean, the luck's got to start turning around real soon here. So.
Well, listen, you were hot to start the meet, and sometimes what happens, you get some bad luck when you get hot, or when you cool off, you get a little bad luck, and that's kind of what's happened there. But, yeah, I mean, you were very close again yesterday. Finally, I had a horse win. That was great. I mean, I've been doing really well at Saratoga, except for the races we cover on the show. But finally, in the last race yesterday, got a nice winner home there. So hopefully we can keep it up. Listen, this sequence here, this is what Saratoga is all about. This is very, very tough. We'll see what happens. I mean, we had the best stakes race of the meet so far in Lake George in race number 9. But I guess let's just get right into it. I think we might need an hour to cover these 4 races. So I'll go ahead and pull up the first race here. So we start off race 7, and it's not a great race. It's $16,000 claimer going 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds and upward, which have never won 2 races. So basically, just starting off, won that maiden. Now we're going to try to get that second win. We do have some scratches in this spot. The 9 is out and the 10 is out. The 10 was a very big scratch in this race. I think we both kind of like that horse. So kind of where did you lean after we got the scratches out this morning?
Yeah, this completely opened up the sequence, I don't know how to really go about this. For a weak claiming field, this was the race that I was actually kind of keying in on with that 10 air show. So all of a sudden, my tickets are a little bit deeper. The 9 and there are a bunch of horses that are out of here. So, we both have the same horse on top now. So I'll leave that to you. To me, this was kind of a 4-horse race. I'll eliminate a few off the top. I thought the 1, 2, 3, and the 11 should all be on a farm. We're down to really the 4, 6, 7, 8 as far as I'm concerned. I'll talk about the 2 again that I'm not going to use. You're going to use the 8, I believe. The 6 Debo is interesting, right? I mean, I have no idea what to make of that last Monmouth race over a sloppy track. Gerardo Corrales is a weird rider in the sense that he rides a lot for Asmussen when Ricky Santana's not around. This horse goes off at 1-9, literally, or 1-10, which they don't show at the track. 1-9, wins by 17 lengths. I'm not really sure what to do with this horse, right? I'm not sure if he's good enough. I'm not sure if it was the slop. There were 6 horses in the race. I just don't know. And I'm not going to – a horse that showed speed last time out, I'm not going to leave him off. I'm just not. And the way Asmussen and Ricky Santana are going, I think it's a dangerous move to do so. With that being said, do I love him? No. Could he be horrible? Absolutely. I just don't – I just don't want to do it. So that's the conundrum there. I wasn't going to use the horse if Air Show, the 10, was running. The 7, Papa Smooth, was interesting. This was a horse that was scheduled for the turf last time out under Joe Sharp. First start for Sharp after Maker had this horse for the first 4 starts. No maiden special weight races, but there was a restricted New York Stakes race lost to Devious Mo. I don't know what that was about. In fact, he was almost 14-1 was a miracle. That horse should have been 100-1. But I think this horse is a little interesting. This is a proper drop, Aaron. Maiden 40 down to a 16 open. This is like what you think of. If you were to ask me off air, hey, I have a horse, 40, 50,000, what do you do? I would say, somewhere between 16 and 25. I think this is a proper drop. I also think that this horse has speed, and we've seen a lot of races that just go gate to wire at these levels. And again, Dylan Davis has shown that he can do that. I think he's done it a couple times already this week, or especially on Wednesday. He's more than capable. And now I'll let you talk about your top choice, who's also my top choice as well.
Yeah, so I used 1, 4, 6, and 8 in this race. And this is just kind of a survive and advance. Very similar to the 7th race yesterday that we talked about. It's just like, these horses really aren't good. Let's pick the 3 or 4, the ones that we think are the best, and just hope one of them, is good enough to get it done. I mean, you're not going to ever be real confident here. But yeah, like I said, like I was going to say here, I picked the number 8 Deputy Flag on top. I was with you. I really liked Air Show a lot. That was going to be the horse I went really short in, and instead I had to really adjust this late pick 4 ticket. But yeah, I did go Deputy Flag on top. This is a class dropper for Rudy Rodriguez, and needs to drop. 2 races back at Parks, ran pretty well in the starter allowance ranks, just got beat a length. Last time out, came back to Belmont in the 40K level. It wasn't good. This horse definitely needs to drop down in class. And we repeat ourselves a lot on the show, but early speed in cheap races, that's what we like. That's what this horse has. So Deputy Flag, I think with the outside post, Luis Saez has got options. If they're really flying up front, he can kind of sit this horse off the pace in second or third. And then if nobody really goes, then Luis Saez can take this horse to the front. So Deputy Flag on top for me. I'm not overly confident, like I said. Out of the horses you used, I really am interested in Debo as well. I think that's one you've really got to put on a ticket, just because any 17 length win, and then you go up against these kind of horses, you've got to take a notice of that. And then you also have got to think Steve Asmussen, man, this guy has come up here. He's not messing around. So his horse is running very well. Obviously, Ricardo aboard, that's his main guy. So, I was with you. I think that 6 was the other one I really considered to play on top. Eventually, though, I landed on the 8.
Yeah, let's talk about one horse that you mentioned. I have no interest in talking about the 1 unless you want to. But the 4, U.S. Steel, was a horse that I now threw into 4th. What made you like him other than the IRAD Safi Joe factor? Because I guess for me, and I'll set you up with a softball here, I just didn't know what the story for this horse was. Debuts maiden special weight, a nice win, then goes to the turf next year, so maybe that's just a race to get under the belt, and just hasn't looked the same. The other dirt race was, I'm pretty sure you could have run better. He finished by 8th by 40. He was eased, and then comes back to the turf and does lose to Fauci, who's a very nice horse, a better than an allowance horse. There's a lot going on, and I think this is going to be a horse that gets bet, and now dropping into a weak claiming field. There were just warning signals for me. Did you take that into account, or do you just think Safi Joe IRAD, something's going to happen here?
Let's put it that way. Yeah, I just think this is a horrible race. This is not, they're not very good horses in this race. Safi Joe, IRAD. Let's just say sometimes Safi Joe can kind of work the miracles with these kind of horses. IRAD gets aboard. I just think it's one to throw on. Now, if this was a race where it's like, okay, the 10's in this race, let's say, it doesn't matter what Safi Joseph was going to do to this horse. The 10 just is better. But then when he comes out, it kind of gets muddled. I was originally 8-10 and move on. And then when he came out, it's like, I got to go a little bit deeper here. And the 4 was just like, well, from a connection standpoint, sure, I think this horse makes sense. This horse is spotted, I think, where he has to be to get a win. So it's purely a connection play. There's nothing about the 4, that says, wow, this is an amazing horse. So I don't love the 4, but I do think it's one that's worth throwing on if you're going to go deep here, which I ended up doing. Dennis, to your point, I think with the 10 out, the race does go through the 8. Well, I don't think the 8 goes off at 7-5 though. I think he's a little bit better priced than that. What do you think? What do you think in odds on the 8?
I'll go between, I'll say 9-5, maybe 2-1. And the reason I say that is because, to your point, maybe the Joe Sharp, Dylan Davis horse doesn't take money, but Joel Rosario is going to get a little play, dropping out of an allowance for Carlos Martin. The 11 definitely won't get play, but the 6 is going to get play. It's Asmussen and Ricky Santana coming off a 17-length win. Your horse that you just talked about, the 4, Saffy Joe and Irad. It's very, very tough to see the 8 going off at that short of a price. What I will say, if he is going off at that short of a price, that's a good sign if you use the 8. I would say that. Aaron, it's one of those predicaments. 7-5, it's like you have a good feeling that people around the track know that this horse is going to run well, but it also hurts your value the way I play it and the way you play it, I guess, as well. So it kind of counteracts itself. It's like you feel more confident, but you're not quite getting the value as well. So if it's 7-5, I'll be happy that I have a horse I think is going to really, truly win, but then it's going to decrease the value as well. For my money, the 4, I just don't like the progression. Last year was really, really good. I thought it was a solid. Honestly, if the 4 just had that one maiden special weight race in July last year and were to come back in this spot, I think that would be your favorite, especially with the 10 out. We've just seen too much, in my opinion, too much regression. But, I mean, not impossible. If Irad just gets a hold of this horse, and at least he did win his only race on the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to run a hell of a lot better, obviously. But I think with Irad aboard, a terrible race, like I said, Saffy Joseph, we'll see. Maybe this horse just kind of jumps up today and runs. He's definitely spotted where he needs to be. So I think that's the big one. One real quick comment here. Playing a big pick 6 ticket today. Pick 6 have really been paying well. I think you're going to need a big ticket to hit this one, but it is going to pay. So I think it's risk versus reward today at Saratoga. This is a great sequence. This is a classic Saratoga card. I'll say it again. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's move on to the next race we're going to cover here, which is race 8. No scratches in this race, so that's good. Race 8, a New York bred allowance going 7 furlongs on the turf on the dirt for 3-year-olds and upward. Like I said, full field of 8, no scratches. This seems like a pretty good race with some horses that have some potential. Ricky, kind of where did you lean in this spot?
Yeah, I also went 3 deep in here. To your point, though, about that pick 6, I mean, good luck. I mean, it's going to be incredible. This is easily the toughest pick 6 sequence. I mean, for real quick, for my record, I've been 1 race away now in in both pick 6s this week. I'd be happy to only be 1 away because this is going to be really, really tough. I thought the 5 Color Me Pazzi or Pazzi, whatever, I thought was interesting. Should be on the lead, and I didn't really see a ton of other horses that are going to do so. I also think Jose Lascano, and you said it to me yesterday, I was actually out playing golf or maybe in the car. He is doing one heck of a job, man. I mean, and I said it to you yesterday. I was like, if this guy got Irad's mounts, he'd be at the top of the jockey standings, and I truly believe that. He's not getting the mounts that he really deserves, his talent-wise, and I think he can get this horse to the lead. Obviously, the worse the jockey, the less instructions just get him to the lead, and I think that's where he's going to be. You think Mission Impassable, you probably think of a turf horse. This is the interesting part to me. Is this horse a true 6, 6.5, or a true mile? I'm not really sure. And that's kind of where my trepidation is with this horse. His mile races haven't been great. His 6.5 have been better. Where does he fall? I think 6 to 1 is a fair price. I thought the 6, though, Big Bobby, Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, it's weird. I've loved the Bill Mott runners. I have not liked the way Junior Alvarado's been riding, even though he hasn't been getting the best mount. I just don't know if he's at the top of his game right now, but he was aboard last time out going 6.5. But then the question mark there is Muddy Sealed. I mean, lost to a horse in Riverdog, who's a really, really nice horse. So I guess the question mark's not as high. It's not like he was horrible, then won. He deserves to be your favorite, I think. He's the new shooter facing winners. We saw the 1A yesterday, I think, played hard. Tyler Gaffleone took 6 races, whatever, to break 7 races, 5 races, whatever, breaks the maiden, comes back, new shooter, wins. We had another horse. I was there with my dad on last Sunday. There was a 4-horse, took forever on the turf. Maybe a Rusty Arnold breaks the maiden. Seems like that might be a trend. New shooters that it take a while, figure it out, learn how to win. But I think this 5 and 6 are interesting. I also use the horse that you put on top as well, and that's the 7, Judge and Jury.
Yeah, I'm with you. The 6 is definitely the deserving favorite, and if the 6 kind of runs back to that race last time out, I think the 6 is going to get the job done. Big Bobby. I only in the pick 6. It was a hard sequence to go short in, so I went 6-7 right here. And I just said, okay, I think the 6 is the best horse. But I am intrigued in the 7. The 6 has shown, so far that he is. But I think the 7 has a lot of upside. You think about this. Luis Saez has teamed up with Danny Gargan 45 times in the last year. 31% of those times the horse won. 69% of the time the horse hit the board. So that tells me that usually when Saez gets aboard a Danny Gargan horse, that horse, they know that this horse is going to run. Now, we haven't seen it in almost a year. Last time we saw this horse was at Saratoga in last year, September 4th. Broke the maiden, going 6.5 furlongs. Looked really, really sharp, gate to wire fashion. Gonna have to take a step forward, obviously. The speed figures aren't there for this horse, but I think this horse has a right to move forward off of that effort. I like the price at 5-1. I think we get every bit of it. I think this horse kind of pops off the layoff, is worth a shot taking on a win bet. Other than the Big Bobby horse, where it's like, if I don't really want to bet that horse to win, I'm not entirely confident in him, number one. And I think this horse is 6-5 even money. And I think with Big Bobby, now with the scratch of Air Show, a lot of people are going to be singling up this horse in the multis. So I thought take a small shot against on the win in with the number 7 Judge and Jury.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I think this horse would have been the favorite had these 2 races been this year at Belmont. I think the fact that we haven't seen him since last September is the reason why. I mean, there's no difference between the 6 and 7, really. We don't have much to go off of, but if you look at the times, right, this year over a muddy track, 1:16 and 3, so 1:16.72 for the 6. Last year, Judge and Jury, 6.5 furlongs, 1:16 and 3, so literally 12 hundredths of a second difference. I'm not sure there's much of a difference. I mean, you get Danny Gargan and Saez versus Mott and Alvarado. Again, the difference is the layoff. To your point, though, I'll take a lay. If someone said you're going to have 8-5 on Big Bobby, 5-1 on Judge and Jury, I'm with you. I'll take the 5-1 on Judge and Jury any day. He's not. That's not quite 2 times, but like 2.5 times the likely winner. I don't think so. So I'm completely with you. I don't mind that win bet at all, and you should get every bit of 5-1. Before I think we move on. There's a couple horses in here that are interesting that I didn't use. I don't want to talk about the 8 Devil's Code. I think we kind of know. What about the 3 though? Johnny Kimmel, Irad Ortiz. If you want, it's like we assimilate Ricardo Santana to Steve Asmussen. If you want I shouldn't say no-name trainer. That's not fair. A trainer you're not familiar with, look for Irad. That is a signal, because Irad will literally ride for a tree stump if that tree stump has a horse that can run. What do you make of this horse? For me, there's really no excuse last time out at going this distance. That's why I stayed away. What did you think of the 3 Quick Flash?
Yeah, I'm saying, at this distance last time out, easy trip and got caught. I think that was the race that horse should have won. And now you come back here and it's like, well, looks like a lot different pace setup today. I do not think that horse is going to be on the lead. And if he is, I think it's going to be very contested. So Last time out, got the perfect trip. This time out, I don't think the trip's going to be there, so I'm going to take a shot against. And listen, anytime IRAD's on a horse, it takes money up at NYRA. So if you can beat IRAD, that's good. I think the horse is morning line 5-1, and I think that's what it'll be right around there. So I would, if you're taking 5-1 shots, I will take the 7 over the 3. I just think the 7 has a little more upside. I just don't think the trip's going to be there. And I think you said it perfectly. Last time out, there's no excuse. The horse should have won. I mean, that horse was clear and got caught. So I don't like it today. We should address the 8 because there has been a couple of comments. Dennis says the 8 doesn't look too bad. And then Coach here says the same thing. The 8 just seems to kind of stick around. To this point, I thought this comment kind of made me, or not made me, but kind of summed up my thoughts, I should say. I put the horse in 4th. I think the horse is great to use underneath. I think as a win wager, or as what you're doing with the pick 4, I'm not sure the horse can win. If you said who's the most likely horse to hit the board, the 8 would be in the conversation. To win,
yeah,
I just don't know. What did you think? You didn't really even want to talk about the 8. Is that kind of why?
I did use the 8 for 4, so I don't think the horse is dog shit. But for your point, but it's like there hasn't been any early speed outside of 2 back when shocker Jose Lezcano did a fantastic job at almost 32-1. I mean, I'm part of his fan club. Even the race that he won, Aaron, he was 3rd. He broke 3rd, 3rd post. Then his 5th, then just kind of graduates, kind of moves along 6 wide in a weak state bred mated special weighted aqueduct. This horse has the look of a horse who's just going to be last, to be quite honest with you. And you don't want to be last in what I think is a weak allowance group. Right. I'm not saying it's not competitive. It's just weak. So with that being said, you have, I don't know if he's that much worse talent-wise. I really don't. I just don't think that this is the right distance in this type of race. Even though he's finished 1st and 2nd at this level, the 1-2 starts back, Jose actually got him to go to the lead, and then the race prior to was a maiden special weight. That's where we need to do a little bit more of this investigative work. Some of these other horses shouldn't have an issue. I mean, Shanghai Bobby and Tapiture for the 6 and 7, Mission Impassable, I thought would maybe want a little longer potentially. The 8 just kind of seems like a hanger. You're right. Just kind of seems like it's going to be in the mix. You're right. If we're betting just to hit the board, you want a show bet, or you and your buddies or wife or significant other want a show parlay, this might be your horse. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Just doesn't look like a winner. This has a new shooter look to me. And I don't know if the 5 is a true new shooter, did face this field last time out. But Lezcano's going to be more aggressive than Concel. And where he places I think, Aaron, this is my prediction. The 7's on the lead. The 5 and 6 are tracking right there. And I kind of see this as a merry-go-round race. It's a 1-turn, 7 furlong. But I think we're kind of in the same direction.
Yeah, I think that's, you summed it up. And yeah, to put it, I don't think it's like a horrible use to use the 8, but I think you kind of know what you're going to get here. If the speed just kind of all comes back, then the 8 is got a shot. But I think they're going to have to come back to this 8 a little bit here. And the bottom line is, it's just really hard to go short in any of these races. You got to make a decision in one, and that's where it was for me. It's just like I have to cut some horses out here in this one, because just to prelude to that, the 9th race, the Grade 3 Lake George Stakes, pretty hard to go short in this one, I'd say. So let's move on to the Lake George. Like I said, Grade 3 going 1 mile on the turf, $150,000 purse. For 3-year-old fillies, we have a field of 9 because the 4 Invincible Gal scratches out of the race. Ricky, this, I think, is the best stakes maybe yet at Saratoga. This is fantastic. Yeah, just unreal. Where did you go here?
We always agree. I don't say always agree. I would say, 90% of we agree. Oh, well, we can't see him anymore. All right. Well, Aaron and I agree 90% of the time. What I will say is he's completely wrong here. This isn't maybe the best stakes race. This is the best stakes race. It's not even close. This thing is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We have one scratch, the 4 Invincible Gal, who I texted Aaron yesterday. The only reason I know that, I'm not breaking news, is because if you watched Saratoga Live, Grant Motion came on the TV and said Invincible Gal's out. And I said, huh, that's interesting. I might as well. I could have tweeted it out and tried to break news and pretend I was lying. I was, we were talking off air, and I was like, Aaron, I want to use more, but I got to cut it off because the air show scratched. All right, so you have, honestly, we'll go through all the horses after I use the ones on my ticket. I'll start with the 5 Jouster. No true excuse in the Wonder Again. It was pretty slow. I'm really disappointed with that effort because coming into that race, she was just a little over 3-1, and that was a much better field. That Wonder Again came up very, very strong. That was, I think, the Thursday of Belmont. I think Friday, my birthday, and then Saturday was the 5th. We were there. It came up very, very strong, and she just couldn't get the job done. Couldn't hold off better horses, but I mean, she ran well against Domain Expertise. She's run well against Giftless and beat Plum Ali prior to in the Appalachian at Keeneland. If she gets the lead in Aaron, what I think is a pretty paceless race, good luck catching her. And we've seen Todd Pletcher do really. Who was the horse that he had last year up at Saratoga who was in great form? Another turf. It was a male. Can't remember. I'll find it. It was just the horse in form. And I'm not really sure if Jouster's the most talented. I just think she's going to have the true pace advantage. I'm going to skip the 6 because that's your top choice. Mm-hmm. The 8 Technical Analysis hung again, and it was not a good effort from her. But coming into it, she looked pretty strong. I think she's going to bounce back today. I truly do. This is the interesting part, though. Where does she sit? That's the question I want answered. If I know she's going to be, I can't afford to have her be wide. You know who else was wide? Colonel Liam when he faced domestic spending. Can't happen. Just cannot happen. Colonel Liam, I think, broke from the 10 that day. Is that accurate? 9 or 10. It was out there. Where does Technical Analysis sit? 2 wide, fine. 3, 4 wide, 5 wide, no. That's going to hurt. I do think she's talented. If she can get the trip, I think she's going to be tough to hold off. And how about the 10, Manown? She lost to the 2, Runaway Rumor, last time out, but she was coming. And I think she's going to be coming again. Her biggest issue, and I think there's an issue and a plus with every horse, if this thing is slow, which I think it might be, where does she want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like Technical Analysis will sit a little closer. She closed into a mile turf race, which is, I think, is that a 1 mile? Is it 1 turn or on the inner at Belmont? I don't remember. Yeah. Either way, yeah, it might be 1 turn, 1 big turn. In the Wild Applause, nonetheless, she wasn't that far away going 5, 6 wide. Again, this really comes down to trips, I think. I did also include the horse that you're going to talk about now, Amy C., who Aaron just seems like she's the up-and-comer. Won her United States debut, again, off the pace. She looks like she might be tough to beat as well.
Yeah, this race, it's just crazy. There's so many angles you could go with, so many things you could do here. I ended up going 1, 5, 6, 8. I'm going to use 4 horses. But as far as the win wager, I did go number 6, Amy C. Look, I think with Chad, it's really hard to decide what angle is going to work best here because he's got 4 entered. They all kind of look interesting. But I just thought that Amy C. was the most impressive of the horses of his that ran last time out. Got a 100-time form figure for her United States debut. That's pretty solid. Dropped way out of it and just made a big sweeping move. Irad Ortiz aboard that day. He's aboard again today. All positives, right? I just think this is the one I want. I know other people kind of like Technical Analysis a little bit, but I didn't like that Wonder Again all that well. So I'll take kind of the new shooter to the stakes ranks with Amy C. For Chad Brown. I thought about Jouster a ton here. I'm just a little worried that there's going to be some other pace in this race. And I like the cutback in distance to a mile for Jouster a ton. I have a ton of respect for that horse as well. I think she's a really good filly. But I'm hoping, at least for my win wager of Amy C, that there's enough pace in this race where it kind of backs up a little bit and the 6 is able to get the job done late. But I'm with you on Jouster. Tough to go against the cutback here. That horse looks awfully good. I mean, there's a ton of other ways you could go here too. Is there anybody else you want to talk about that you haven't used?
I could literally, I think we can make a case for all of them. Like, no, I'm dead serious. I tweeted it out this morning, even though I didn't want to say, I said there are 10 horses. I said you can make a case for every single one of them. If we were to if I said, Aaron, make a case for the one, you can. You know, a Demodog is a horse you like a little bit. American Pharaoh Turfer. Fluffy Socks. I mean, maybe Fluffy Socks is a little bit tougher. I think we can make, but like, I mean, how about the 7? Toby's Heart ran really well to Navratilova. This is the thing about those two, Navratilova and Toby's Heart, the 7 and 9. I prefer Churchill runners on the dirt a little bit more than I do on the turf. Why do I think that's the case? I think things are a little bit more well-grounded here in New York. And what I mean by that is more front end. I think Churchill Downs is a much more of a speed track, and you see things melt down a little bit more. It's interesting, Aaron, if you like the 9 or the 7, then you like the other, because they ran 1-2 in the Tepin Stakes. Now, I don't think the Tepin Stakes is going to match up here, to be quite honest with you. Invincible Gal beat Toby's Heart by a little bit. Again, don't look at the margin so much because these turf races are very close. In the race on May 15th, I didn't really love Invincible Gal, so I don't really know how much I'm supposed to like Toby's Heart. I don't. Is there anyone that you want to discuss? I feel like I'm going in a circle here, but you can make a case for all of them. Maybe the 3 is the worst Chad Brown, Fluffy Socks, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, to Dennis's comment, let's talk about it for a second, because he says thoughts on the 7 and the 9, the Churchill horses who've been red hot so far in this meet, and I'll add in the 1 as well, Demodog, who's also coming up from Churchill Downs. Yeah, I think you have to respect all 3 of these. I like I said, I had Demodog in 3rd. I like that horse. I love the price. The 7, Toby's Heart, and the 9, Navratilova. Yeah, I could say that name. I got scared and I was like, no, I know what that is. They're the 1-2 finishers of the Tepin Stakes last time out. That was a pretty damn good race there at Churchill Downs. Those horses ran pretty well. Do I respect them in this spot? Yes, I definitely do. I'm not going to be surprised if either one of those wins. I mean, the 7, the 9, are you going to be surprised if either one of these win?
I wouldn't be shocked, but I would have to literally hit the all button to get there. So for me, this is my issue with both of them. And I don't think it's them personally. I think it's a post position thing. The 9 showed speed last time out. That was the only race she drew anywhere from the 7 post inside. Back to the 9 in a much more talented field. If you look at Timeform says she should be on the lead. The biggest issue with Timeform is they don't factor in post positions, which they can't. It's just an analytics thing. Can she beat all of these runners down? And first of all, Jouster's breaking from the 5, exactly where you want to be. Jouster, I've never seen a horse break from the rail more than Jouster. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. But the 9, it's hard because I love Lescano. Like, if Lescano wins, I might be looking for a bridge. Seriously, because him on the turf at a price is just so scary for me. But I just don't know where she's going to be caught out. The 8 will show some speed. I think the 6 will be a little bit more forwardly placed. And I think the 10 is also going to go. Is Navratilova going to be used too much early on just to get to the position? The other problem is the 7. Aaron, outside of the 5 and the 9, I'm not sure where the speed's coming from. So the 7's going to be literally like last. For a horse that I don't know if she's as talented as the rest, I can't afford to have you last. I just can't. For that reason, I'm eliminating the Churchill Downs turf runners. But this is what I'll say. If one runs well, they're all going to run well, in my opinion. If they run poorly, they'll all run poorly. I don't think it's a mixed bag. You're going to get a price if you like one of them, though. I'll say that. This comment, Chad Brown is 2 for 19. I texted Aaron this, or maybe whatever. I said, this is Chad's race, right? Like, if he's going to turn it around, I shouldn't say turn it around because we're day 8 of this meet, right? Or day 7, I think, for week 1, and this is the third, day 7. If he's going to turn it around, this is where you see it. Like, this is one of those races where his runners like run 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, like dominate type of thing. Because we didn't see that in the grade 1, Diana. I'm not at the point where I'm fading Chad yet. This is a good indication of, do we hop back on? Because you're going to keep getting short prices. Do we hop back on? I'm not. This is the key point for me, where I'm fading after this if they don't run well. I just don't see it happening.
I will say this. I'm not going to take this race into account as far as him having to win it, because this is a really tough race. He could run well and lose this race. I've looked ahead. I'm obviously we both have looked ahead at today, obviously Saturday and Sunday. If he is sitting on 2-3 wins after this weekend, he's in trouble, because I think he's got some runners this weekend that are going to really change things around for him. I'm not paying. I mean, you shouldn't be panicked on Chad Brown right now, but if he doesn't win some races this weekend and kind of get that thing start to turn around a little bit, he may be in a little trouble. Because all of a sudden he's going to be behind, 5, 6, 7 races in this trainer standings. I don't know. I feel like he's ready to have a big weekend, though. I don't know about you.
Well, I think that's a fair point that you bring up. You're talking about in trouble in regards to the trainer standings. We don't have to start raising money for Chad Brown.
No.
But you're right in the trainer standings. And Dennis, chimes in. Well, Todd Pletcher's 1 for 16. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, like Aaron and I talked about it, I think on 2 or 3 separate occasions yesterday. My buddy, who's the biggest Steve Asmussen fan ever, he loves him and Ricardo. It's like you want to believe the Asmussen train, and you want to believe the Clement train, and so on and so forth, but you get to a point where mentally you're like, who else? Brad Cox and Mott, Maker's done, pretty well as also. You kind of get to a point where it's like you just feel like these two are coming, and not for Pletcher in this race as much, because he's more of a better dirt trainer. But if you're Chad, like if Chad doesn't do what he does best, then that's when, what I'm saying? Like this is like it should be a relative change-up for him, knowing the change-up is coming. We'll put in baseball terms.
Yep.
This is like 3rd and 1. You have Dalvin Cook. You got Nick Chubb, like 3rd and 1. You're supposed to get this. You're supposed to do well here. So I'm with you though. They don't need to be worried, but they have plenty of money. But this is trainer standing wise, and Chad points to this. So Asmussen doesn't point to it necessarily. I mean, he likes to do well, but
here's what I'll say about Asmussen. He has the stable. In numbers, he's got the numbers to compete with those two. So it's going to get interesting if he can get a lead on them and continue to kind of extend that lead early. He might be able to hold on just from the sheer fact that he has the numbers. But yeah, with the comment on Brown and Pletcher, I wouldn't panic yet. It's very early. But the Pletcher thing, he has 1 win and it's Witt. It had to be like a freak for Todd Pletcher to win. So
we could train Witt. We could train Witt. Me and you could train Witt. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
as long as he didn't have that horse running into a brick wall, I'm pretty sure Witt would have beaten that 9 headline report anyway. Yeah. I mean, he spotted that horse like 6, 7 lengths anyway, and he won by 6 or 7. So it didn't, 5, whatever. The final thing I'll say is, at least for Asmussen in this race, Chad Brown can only gain 1 win. So because there's four runners, maybe 3 real win contenders, but he can only gain 1. But I think it's time. And Dennis says, it's Saratoga. Yeah. I mean,
it's tough to win races.
It's tough. You're right. It's tough to win races, and that's why we talk all the time, especially at the end of the meet. You see like Rapoli and St. Elias and big time, maybe not Godolphin, but some of these Klaravich, these bigger stables, they'll drop horses in just to get wins. Oh, especially the owner standing, because they have hundreds of horses. They don't care. If Dennis, if that happens, you could officially take over the show. I will literally quit. I will stop. I will literally never watch a horse race if there's a 4-way dead heat. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the sport.
It's Dennis and Jared Bush hour starting on Wednesday if there's a 4-way dead heat. So
if there's a 4-way dead heat, I'll literally donate every dollar that the racing dudes have ever given me to charity.
Oh my God! No, just give it back to me. Thanks. I'll make a charity. You can give back to.
I don't even think that's ever happened.
No,
I've never even seen a 3-way dead heat. Obviously, 2 horses is a dead heat, but I've never seen it. So
I think I may have seen 1 3-way dead heat, but we're getting way off subject here. Let's rein it back in. Last thing I'll say about this. This is just awesome. I can't wait. I'm counting down the seconds until this Lake George runs. All right, we got to get to the 10th race though. So we go from the Lake George, which is fantastic, to a $50,000 maiden claiming going 5.5 furlongs on the turf for fillies and mares 3-year-olds and upwards. So we go from one of the best races to one of the worst. This is not a great race here. Before we move on, the 12, the 13, and 14, I zoomed in right there. They are all scratching. So it leaves us with a field of 12 because the 1 and 1A coupled entries. So 11 betting interests, 12 in the field. Listen, it's not a great race, but it's a pretty good betting race because I feel like this one's pretty wide open. A lot of places you could go here. What are you thinking here to close us off, Ricky?
I'm going to try to beat the entry, which is the 1 and 1A, Thrill and Misdemeanor. This is why I've learned time and time again, betting maiden claimers as favorites, they better be damn strong. And we have horses that I don't think are that much worse. Aaron and I are big time form guys. I hope I'm not speaking for him there, but that's what we use primarily. I like to handicap the actual PPs, then I'll support it with time form. Aaron's a little bit different, but nonetheless, the time form numbers for the 1 and 1A are pretty much the same as the 3 horses I'm going to use. So why am I going to take a short price? Again, you are getting 2 of them. With that said, I'll go through them first. I'll talk about the 2 that you're not using, and you're also not using the 1 and 1A. So this is going to be interesting. The 3 Epicurean, I thought, is the horse that has the most upside. And what I mean by that is if we walk through the story of the horse, I always love walking through stories. It's fun. On debut at Kentucky Downs maiden special weight, can we hold any of those races against these horses? I mean, the track is weird. There's 98 different turns. The meets only exist for like 10 days. It's very difficult to figure out. Then off for a long time, debuts on the dirt. At Gulfstream Park off the long layoff, same level, not bad, showed some more speed, and then looked like a different runner on the turf, which supports the Wesley Ward theory that he always wanted her on the turf, hence the debut at Kentucky Downs. Another long layoff, June 6th from March 10th, April, May, June, that's 2.5 months. We're approaching another 6-7 weeks here. I just think we're going to get the best of her, and there's not a ton of speed in here for a turf sprint. I'm going to be breaking from the 2 post. I like that one. I'm going to use a first-time starter as well. Declaration of War, Christophe Clement, David Cohen. So I had to do some research. And I said, David Cohen riding here on a first-time starter. The jockey-trainer combo is 0. And I said, all right, I don't know if I want to use this horse. But what I will say, I'm not overly impressed. Christophe Clement in these turf sprints so far, boy. Declaration of War, this horse looks fast. I'm not sure that this horse won't be good. And David Cohen is a pretty good rider. He's another one, Aaron, that just doesn't get the mounts when it comes to Saratoga. Not his fault. He just doesn't have the connections, and he doesn't ride in New York consistently. I thought this one was interesting. I hope this horse isn't a dog. Yeah, but if she isn't, I think she could be good enough. I also used the horse that you put on top, the 2 High Fair as well.
Yeah, this race is crazy. I feel like we say this every day when we do the Rocket Hour, and it's the last race at Saratoga. It's like, oh my God, look at this bunch of mess here. I looked at that 7 for a long time because I thought, why in the hell is David Cohen on this horse? I thought that was interesting. That's not a slight to David Cohen. It's just like Cohen with Clement. That doesn't happen all that often. So I was really kind of interested in that. In the end, though, I did go with the number 2 High Affair. I really like 6-1 on the morning line. I think if we can get that, this horse is worth the play. Drops down to the maiden claiming ranks for the first time today, and also cuts back in distance. Sprints, turf sprints. That's what Wesley Ward is known for. That's what this horse is going to do today. Also, Joel Rosario jumps aboard. Rosario rides for Wesley Ward's sum 34 times in the last year. Out of those races, 32% of the time the horse has won, 62% of the time the horse is in the money. So I think having Rosario aboard, they've kind of got on the backside and said, look, this horse isn't great, but we've dropped him in class, and I think this filly's got a shot today. So I like the drop down. Dropping from the maiden special weight to maiden claiming, that's the biggest drop in horse racing from a class perspective. So I'm willing to give this horse a shot. And like I said, I think Rosario back aboard today. I think that's a pretty good sign. Just to comment on some of the others, I did like the number 1 Thrill a little bit, but I do think it's a horse we can beat at a short price. So I kind of like your strategy that you're using there. I liked the 3 as well. I agreed with you there. That's another Wesley Ward horse. Irad Ortiz gets aboard that one. The reason why I chose the 2 over the 3 when it comes to the Ward horses, we've seen this horse in a maiden claiming twice, and she's lost twice. So it's like, okay, we know. Now, did she run bad in either one of those races? No, but she did lose them both. So we kind of know, okay, we know where you're at. The 2, we're not sure. We haven't seen her against this kind of company. So I'm going to lean towards that 1 there that maybe the 2 is a little bit better than what she's been running, and she'll get with her friends today and run a heck of a lot better. So that's kind of why I lean for the 2 there, Ricky. I just want kind of the new shooter in this group.
No, that's fair. The only reason I went with the 3, I prefer Speedster going a little bit shorter than American Pharaoh going shorter.
Yeah,
that's the only difference. I mean, again, you have 5-1 versus 6-1. I think realistically, they're not that much different. Again, and you buy the more to the American Pharaoh point, you also have Go Sapper on the bottom side as well, which is a little. You're going to want a little bit longer. Again, Wesley Ward has 2 legitimate shots. If you like the 2 or the 3, I think you're going to get fair prices on both. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with the 1 and 1A, right? We'll poke holes, and I'm sure people are interested. We'll get to a few of the comments before we wrap up. The 1A we haven't seen since last year. Debuts 5.5, which is, same thing on the Mellon turf. Now dropping in for a tag. This is a pretty salty maiden claiming 50. I'll say that. Some come up weak. I think, Aaron, we have legitimate 3 or 4 horses out of this that can win starter allowance races. I truly believe that. And if you can win starter allowance races, that means you're going to stay protected. That means you're decent. Not allowance, but you're decent. The 1A misdemeanor, I've said this before, Gulfstream horses are soft. Literally, again, it's the Oklahoma thing. They don't run well. They just don't run well when it comes to Saratoga. I don't know why. I don't know how to describe a soft horse. It's just things are very easy for them at Gulfstream. And Aaron, to your point, 35,000 Gulfs. So, and I'm going to ask you this question before we wrap up. 35 maiden claimer at Gulfstream, not championship meet. This was June 6th. Mm-hmm. Now coming up to face a 50, maiden 50 with the 2 who's dropping in for a tag, Wesley Ward. Another Wesley Ward getting IRAD, which is the first time on the turf since last year at Kentucky Down. And the 7, Christophe Clement, who practically sleeps on the turf course overnight. So,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and seriously, now I'll throw it to you before we wrap up because I really don't like the 1 and 1A. Which one is better? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like horses that are going to be the entry or the short price where I'm not even sure which one is better. At least yesterday with the 1A, we knew the 1A was better than the 1. I'm not even sure which one's better. So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? That always poses an issue for me when we talk about entries.
Well, we talk about it all the time, too. Going against the favorite in the last race at Saratoga, that's never a bad angle. I mean, it's just very rarely do they win. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't subscribe to the whole soft horse thing, you know that. But at the same time, I do think in this spot there's some horses that are just better than the 1 and 1A, you know. So who knows? You may get burned, but I like the strategy. I do a lot. I wanted to get to this comment because we have a couple people talking about it. Dennis says he's going to throw up, but he likes Heman Harkey's horse. That's the 10. Second time turf, has speed, ran good at 6 furlongs. He goes on to say maybe not win, hit the board type. And then, the coach says interesting play of the 10. I did not consider the 10, but I'm going to let you go first. What did you think of the chances of the 10 today in this race?
Would you say that I was just a little over 2 years, that I've been a pretty good employee?
I would say you've been very good, yeah.
Okay, so this is where you're going to hate me. I refuse to talk about this horse. Absolutely refuse. This horse, if this horse doesn't finish last, I'll be shocked. That's all I'm going to have to say. So
wow.
I refuse. I don't know if I've hated a horse more. To be quite honest with you, dude, I'm not sure if this horse could win at Monmouth. No, I'm dead serious. There's two riders at Saratoga I'm not going to bet.
Okay.
It's not Benji Hernandez, because I would almost never bet him, but by some miracle at a long shot, Jalen Samuel and Heman Harkey. Never. Literally never. And Tim Hills is a trainer. Never. That's all I have to say. I would take Dylan Davis on a 5,000 claimer from Parks over Heman Harkey, who's riding domestic spending. That's how much I hate those two. So I am never going to bet. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But Jose Lozcano, Dennis, would never get on a horse this bad. Ever. Unless it was a stakes race. Because then he gets a call. So I can't even say one thing positive about the 10. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll take over for just a second and say something. Now, full disclosure, did not consider this horse. Do not think the horse is absolutely impossible like you do. Do think the horse will finish mid-pack probably. The positive is the horse showed enough speed last time out, first time on the turf, to clear a field going 7 furlongs, same level though, 50K level at Belmont. Really, there was no reason the horse should have lost from that position. That was the problem. Faded, got 6, beaten 7.5. Here's my problem with the horse. I look at it this time. If this horse clears today, he's going to be going way too fast. So the horse, or she, I should say, is going to be going way too fast. So the horse most likely is going to have to sit off the pace and then make a move. I don't think she has it in her to do it today. I think you're going to get every bit of 20-1. I'll tell you that. And if you want to throw her in, I don't recommend it, but at least you're going to get the price, right? I mean, I don't think this horse takes a lot of money.
I was just going to say, if you bet this horse and you only get 20-1, you're a loser, because this horse should be 99-1. No, literally, if you take 20-1, I mean, who's the other one? Oh, the 5 comes in at 50-1.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the 5 over the 10.
Really?
Yeah, because at least for the 5, we've only seen the horse once, and now getting Lasix.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take the 5 over the 10.
All right. So
I'll also take the 9, who's a first-time starter, at least getting Javier for Tom Bush. I mean, there's nothing I like about this 10 horse. I mean, I'm sorry. I just, nothing.
I don't think you have to say sorry. I think that's your opinion. So, yeah. I listen, I don't like the 10 either, but I do see kind of what people are seeing in the horse. It does early, and we talk about early speed. In these races, these lower level races, that's what you want. And again, it's kind of the same problem, although to a more greater extent here as it was with the Irad horse. I think that I can't remember what race that was in that we talked about earlier. Perfect setup, faded, and lost. Okay, that horse got second though. This horse, perfect setup, faded, lost, got 6, beaten 7. That was the big difference. Why I didn't consider it, but to each their own. And listen, I'm not going to recommend you play the horse, but you're going to get a price at least. So that's, it's not like it's a favorite that we hate that you guys are wanting to play. You want to play the 10, take a shot, but know that it's a long shot. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, since we're going to be since we're good friends, me and you, what do you think the off odds of the 10 are? Not where they finish, off odds.
I mean, got to be 30 plus, right? Let's say 38 to 1. I'll say 38 to 1.
Well, that's good. Pick a random number. Fine. Yeah. I say the first beer when I pick you up,
okay,
will be on me if this horse goes off shorter than 38 to 1.
Really? Okay, great. I hope the horse does go off shorter now, for sure.
I hope this horse goes off at 2 to 1. So we can balloon prices on everyone else. I'm not sure who made the decision to enter this race because it's a salty 50,000, maiden claiming 50,000. I really would like to have a sober conversation with the connections not in a drunk state, in a sober conversation with these people, because Aaron, this might be one of the worst fillies on the turf that we see all meet. So I would love to have a conversation with someone.
All right. Well, on that note, let's sum up the day. Recap your ticket there for us, Ricky. Looks like you got a $54 ticket, so kind of go through it one more time.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna put the 10. I'm probably gonna single the 10 now in that last race. Let's see. We'll start in race number 7 again. So we're 7 through 10 in this sequence. I thought with the 10 obviously coming out, this was a little bit more wide open. You have Steve Asmussen and Ricky Santana, who I think are won by 17 lengths in a bad race, but it's 17 lengths. So you got to consider the 8 is probably the horse to beat, Deputy Flag. In the 8th race, I think the 6 and 7 are interesting, but we talked about it before. Judge and Jury, if without the layoff, I think is the horse to beat. So I'm with Aaron. I would take that price at 5 to 1 if I had to go a little bit shorter. I went 5, 6, and 7. I think Color Me Pazzi will show a little bit more speed. The 9th race is the best stakes race we've seen to this point. I don't think it's really close. You can make a case for all of them, but I think Jouster does have a little bit more class, has the most speed. I don't think Navratilova will be able to get there, and if she does, she'll tire out quickly. But I did go 4 deep, 5, 6, 8, and 10. And then in the final one, I went 2, 3, 7. I'm going to try to beat the morning line favorites of the 1 and 1A, Thrill and Misdemeanor. I said it before, I don't like betting an entry when I don't even know who the better one is. And that's the situation here. You have one horse off a layoff and one horse that I think is soft. So that's where I went. It's 3 by 3 by 4 by 3. That's $54.
Yeah, very tough sequence. Let's hope this gets home. For me, I went the win wager on number 8 in the 7th race, Deputy Flag. I just think with the scratch of the 10, the race kind of now runs through the 8. I'm not super confident in this horse, though, but a big drop in class. Luis Saez aboard a speed horse. Luis Saez riding very well right now at the Saratoga meeting. So I took a shot. Well, it's not really a shot. I think this horse will be the favorite. So I took a shot with a favorite, I guess I should say, number 8, Deputy Flag. In the 8th, now this I can say I took a shot with. I went number 7, Judge and Jury. Coming off about a year layoff. I know that's a negative, but Luis Saez gets aboard again here. Another Luis Saez horse I'm using. When he rides for Gargan, that horse usually runs well. I know we got to beat the 6, Big Bobby, who's probably a deserving favorite there, but I'll take a little shot with the number 7, Judge and Jury. Race 9, the Lake George. This is the race of the day for sure. I went number 6, Amy C. I get Jouster. I get the cutback in distance. I'm just afraid there's a lot of speed in this race, and Amy C, I think, is the one that can close late and get the job done if those speed horses come back to her a little bit. So at 9 to 2, I'll take the Chad Brown runner, number 6, Amy C. And in the 10th, I'm playing not the number 10, as we've discussed, but I'm playing number 2, High Fair, first time running in the maiden claiming ranks. I like that. Joel Rosario back aboard this horse for Wesley Ward when those two team up. It's usually pretty good. I trust Wesley Ward going short on the turf. That's what he's known for. So I'll wrap it up there. I think it's going to be a very, very good day at Saratoga. There's going to be a lot of good races. Very much looking forward to it. Ricky, it took an hour to cover this, and I thought it would because this had a lot to unpack here. Any final thoughts before we sign off for the weekend?
What's more likely to happen? Heeman Harkey with the 10 or a 4-way dead heat? One word. You have one answer. One word real quick.
4-way dead heat.
Right, I'm with you. And the other thing is, Final thoughts? Oklahoma, Texas, do they make the move? What do we think? You know, you're more tuned into that stuff than me. Is it realistic that it's going to happen? A, and B, if it does, the Big 12 is essentially done.
I think Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC by the time I land in Albany for Whitney weekend. How about that?
So essentially, well, it probably it wouldn't be for this year. It would have
no. That's not what I mean. Meaning the deal's done. Yeah,
right. Deal's done. It probably right. It wouldn't be till at least 2022, maybe 2023. Whenever, I don't know. It depends on contracts. That would essentially, I think, eliminate the Big 12 because
the Big 12 is done. I've heard Kansas to the Big 10 is a rumor I'm hearing today. Oklahoma State talking to the Pac-12. I've heard that. The Big 12 is done. I think Texas and Oklahoma are 1,000% going to the SEC. I think it's a done deal, to be completely honest. I read more about this. Probably I should. It's probably a little embarrassing how much I've followed this because I'm excited. I want it to happen. The inside sources that I read, they've been working on this deal for months, and this came out because they pretty much said, okay, we've got this finalized. I think the only team, or the only school I should say, that's really against it is Texas A&M, obviously, and that's hilarious. But other than that, I think all the other SEC schools are okay with it, and I think it's going to happen.
From afar, which I am, not literally, figuratively as well, because I'm not tuned into the situation. One of the things I've learned in sports with all the media outlets and all the coverage, when a story like this comes out, it doesn't come out if there's not true facts and basis points. Because it wouldn't have come out then. So that's an objective. Again, if they go to the SEC, I could care less. Again, the SEC will just be more dominant. I really don't care. The other thing is all the other conferences are going to pick up more schools because, again, the Big 12 will completely be like remember when Texas, it was probably between, I was in school maybe 5-10 years ago. If they didn't establish the Longhorn Network, Texas was going to be gone. And the conference would have been eliminated then without Texas. So now if you take the top two dogs, they sure as heck can't survive. I think you would see some of the smaller schools maybe go to like the Mountain West for football or the Big 10. Like Iowa State would fit in seamlessly there. Iowa's already in the Big 10. Kansas for basketball, that would make sense as well. Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, that would make sense. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a smaller school head to the ACC, test their waters out there. For the longest time, we had SMU in the American Conference, in the same conference as South Florida, in the same conference as UConn. So these conference realignments doesn't really seem to matter anymore. I just want to get your take on it. Notre Dame to the Big 10, it's never going to happen. And here's why. They make more money being an independent, getting money from NBC. Mind you, they still have to play 4 ACC schools. And the reason that is, Syracuse has played them before, BC has played them before, they played Clemson last year. The reason they do that is because every other sport is in the ACC. So that was the agreement. They'll let them be an independent, but you have to play 4 ACC. I think it might be 2 at home, 2 on the road. Yep. And then you could do whatever you want after that. So going to the Big 10, they would actually lose money, and they're already in a contract with the ACC.
So here's the deal with the Notre Dame to the Big 10 has always been a thing, and geographically it would make a ton of sense. As far as natural rivalries, it would make a ton of sense, but it's never going to happen. They're never going to join a conference. They joined a conference last year because they had to, but they and it's the ACC and Notre Dame, they're in bed together basically. So if the NCAA or somebody forced them, like you had to join a conference, they would actually join the ACC. That will not happen, though, unless they're absolutely forced to do so. So I agree. Like the Big 10 and then playing Michigan and Penn State and all those teams, it would be amazing. And the natural rivalries are there for Notre Dame, but it's for money purposes, never going to happen.
Well, and the other thing is, I'll throw the negative around. I know I love getting into college football. We're just a little under 5 weeks away, or right about there. The problem is the other rivalries that you lose, Stanford and USC. You're going to lose those as well. While you gain some, you lose some. So Right. They only played Clemson because they had to join the ACC, because as an independent, they could have potentially only played like 4 or 5 games. So they I learned a long time ago, for every decision that happens, there's a positive and negative for 95% of the things. If they join the Big Ten, they're ruining a relationship with the ACC, which they can't do. I don't even think they're allowed to join the Big Ten for football and be in the ACC for any other sport. 4 super conferences, no Notre Dame. If Oklahoma and Texas leave, that's what it's going to be. You're going to have the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. That's what you're going to get. But yeah, this is all interesting. It's weird that it's happening now because according to you, it's been out for months. Again, nothing's going to change this year. Schedules are set, tickets are sold, merchandise, all that rivalry, commercials, advertisements. It would probably be starting in, my guess would be 2022, maybe 23, depending on contracts and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know how the legal thing will be, but again, as far as Oklahoma, Texas in the SEC, it's going to happen. I think it's a done deal. When this news first came out, I was like, yeah, that'll never do that. And then the more you read, it's like, oh yeah, this has actually been in the works a long time. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. What is this? What would the Big Ten be if it can't be Big Ten? So the Big Ten has more than 10 teams now.
Yeah, they have more than 10 teams now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter because they just added Maryland and Rutgers pretty recently. I mean, off the top of my head, Aaron, I can go Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Rutgers. I think that's in the East. And then you have like the Purdue's of the world, the Illinois of the world, Iowa, Minnesota. Yeah, I'm missing a few, but I think they're at like 14, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I mean that won't matter. But and I don't know, maybe if they get 20 teams, they'll change the conference. I don't know. Listen, we'll see what happens. I don't know. It just seems like they say when there's smoke, there's fire. When this came out, and the reaction of Texas A&M, like going crazy about it, tells me that it's a done deal and they're just pissed off. So,
right. And I think they're doing it more so because it'll affect obviously recruiting.
100%.
That and one of the big things for them, I know you're not an A&M fan, and neither am I. I don't really care, but they were the only school in Texas to be in the SEC. They've always been the little brother to Texas, whether they want to admit it or not. Now they're still going to be the little brother if Texas comes over. So, and then you also do have Texas Tech and TCU as well. I would assume though it would just be those 2 schools that go to the SEC. I would think the other schools need to find another conference. That's my guess, but who knows? Yeah. This is an interesting topic. Conference realignment has been an issue, and in terms of television rights, I think here conferences will negotiate. I mean, they already do. I mean, the SEC has like one primetime game on Saturday, or maybe a couple with CBS, and then the rest is on the SEC network, ESPN, ESPN Plus, all that type of stuff. But they do have some CBS. That's why Notre Dame is strictly on NBC. The only time they're not on NBC is when they go on the road.
Yep.
When they go on the road, it's up to the home team. That's the way it works. So that's why last year they played Clemson at home, NBC game. When they played Clemson on the road or whatever neutral site, it could be an ABC. So it all depends on who's home. It's interesting, though. I'm sure your Sooners, again, will be in the Big 12, but, maybe guys will finally start developing that SEC mindset, that big football mindset, and stop playing backyard football, and you'll win one of these things one of these days.
What's really interesting, we have a team this year that should be able to compete with anybody. They absolutely should. So we'll see. If we get into the playoff and we get smoked again, I think you could start to say it's because we don't play anybody. And then when we play anybody any good, it takes us, like I've said this, it takes us a half to adjust. It's like, oh, we're not playing like a JV school today? Okay. But the problem with Oklahoma, they've lost games in the Big 12. Like we are going to have to get much sharper mentally if we get into this league, and just going to have to get better overall players. We've recruited very, very well. That's going to have to continue. the recruiting cannot slip a bit, or you will be in the middle of the pack in the SEC. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. To sum it up, the Big 12, they're going to get enough recruits where it's always them in Texas, and then when it comes down to coaching and a system, Texas hasn't figured out the head coach since Mac Brown left.
Yep.
But Oklahoma, you're right. They're always going to be 1-2 or 2-1 in recruiting with Texas anyway, so it's not an issue. It's not going to be that case when you get to the SEC. You'll have Bama, LSU, Georgia, Florida,
yep,
A&M. The list goes on. I think I said LSU. The list goes on and on and on. It's going to be a bloodbath recruiting, and if they slip it all, they're going to be, I hate to say it, they're going to be like a Tennessee. They're not going to be Vanderbilt, but they'll be like a Mississippi State, Tennessee if they don't keep it up. That's why Texas is a hotbed. And one more note before we end: the Cleveland Indians are now going to be the Cleveland Guardians. Any thoughts on that? Any news? Any ideas? What?
I don't want to get into like because I don't care one way or the other on it, but it is odd. Like to call them the Guardians is the weirdest thing, Like I will never get used to doing. I'll call them the Indians probably till the day I die. That's how long it'll take for me to get used to the Guardians. That's crazy.
When I saw that, I thought it was a joke as well.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Guardians. I kind of like the name, to be quite honest. It's just a little weird, but that's you know what? I'll take over in terms of wrapping it up. That's going to do it for us today. I figured I was asking you some college questions, some sports questions. That's going to do it.
One more thing. Is it still the Washington football team? Are they just going to stick with that?
Yes. The Washington football team for this year, they are still hoping to make changes. Got to be honest with you. I don't mind it. I didn't like it at first, and I've grown accustomed to it. It's got a little English feel to it, like Manchester City Football Club, Arsenal Football Club, Manchester United Football Club. Like, it's got a little English, European feel to it. At least they kept the colors. Hopefully they're just not like the Washington. I feel like they're going to be like the Washington Generals, Washington Senators, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, so right now they are keeping it for this season. They are still in the process of next year. The Cleveland Guardian thing kind of just shocked everyone. I don't even think anyone knew that they were going to change it. I mean, the Indian thing makes sense. They're trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
There was no, like, the Washington football team, like, this process has been dragging out for like 2 years now. The Indians, like, everyone kind of just figured they were going to keep it. Dennis, the Washington Capitals. Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea to have two capitals in the same city. But that's going to do it for us. Beautiful day at Saratoga. I think there's like a 30% chance of rain at like 4 something. It would be like, no joke, a 5, 10, 15-minute shower at most. It's supposed to be good weather tomorrow as well. Sunday could be a little dicey, but we'll worry about it then. A few stakes races at Del Mar as well tomorrow. So, yeah.
Can I address something real quick? That is a myth. There's nobody in college football that plays defense anymore.
The only team off the top of my head who plays real defense is Georgia, and their offense stinks.
Yeah.
So
the SEC championship game, the score was 52-46 last year. Offense has reigned everywhere now.
Yeah.
You have to be able to get a few stops. That's what good defense is right now.
The big thing is, can you keep teams to field goals, not touchdowns?
Oh, yeah, true. Red zone defense. Can you get turnovers? Things like that. And OU has not been able to do that the last few years until last year, really. But you have to play some defense. But there's not a league in college football anymore that's focused on defense. It's just it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, well, not that long ago, we had the Alabama LSU 9-6 national championship.
Well, it used to be that way for sure, but the last 3 or 4 years, it's not.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is Oklahoma will score 35 and lose by 2 touchdowns. That's how crazy this thing has gotten.
Right.
And that is going to do it for us. Plenty of stakes action, all on racingdudes.com. My product is out. Aaron's product is out. You can check out free articles that Magic has wrote as well. So please head there. We still have about 50 minutes to first post, I believe.
Yep.
At Saratoga. Del Mar tonight is 7 o'clock. 8 races, 7 o'clock. If you didn't envision staying up late, you might have to. I think their last race doesn't go off for a long, long time. I'll trying to check that out. They don't start till 7. Their last race does not go off until 10:30, which is on the East Coast. Obviously 7:30 on the West Coast. Again, plenty of action. Not the strongest Saratoga Saturday, but if you guys are interested in watching a big performance, you should get that from Malathot as well. But that'll do it again for us. We'll see you guys back on Tuesday. We will do a recap, review, whatever show, looking ahead, whatever you want to call it, on Tuesday morning. So we'll be here right there for that. Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy. Good luck if you're playing this weekend, and we will see you early next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care, everyone.